What's up, guys? CryptoSavy here. Hope everybody's having a fabulous Monday. We're going to be taking a look at the charts and taking a look at Bitcoin first. I do believe we could be in a head and shoulders pattern, and I'll show you why I think we bottomed with the stop hunt and the double bottom. Also, I want to remind you guys, don't forget to leave your comment in the comment section down below. Not only does it help the channel out, it gives you a chance to win the free t-shirt. We do the random comment pick on Sundays. There's also a Discord group down there in the description. Totally awesome community, totally free. Check it out, and let's get on with the video. As always, guys, this is not trading, financial, or investing advice. Disclaimer scrolling on the bottom. We're going to take a look at the news first, then we're going to take a look at Bitcoin. We're going to start out with the higher time frames, move down to the smaller, then we're going to look at Litecoin. And the reason I'm bringing Litecoin back is because Litecoin and Bitcoin really help when you look at both of them to see where the market's going. So, all right, let's look at news headlines for today. Bitcoin price might drop below 7,000 after failing. And the reason I'm looking at these is kind of give us a sentiment of what the news is saying. Might drop below 7,000, so FUD. Billionaire Bitcoin critic Mark Cuban picks up support from Bitcoin Cash, whatever. Bitcoin price could rally to 9,000, so we're getting a mixed signal here. COINBASE is working on some exciting new Bitcoin tech. Bitcoin price may show high volatility jumps for BitMEX. Google's YouTube goes to war. That's old news. Bitcoin price prediction. Can bulls hold the 7,000 range? Well, we're going to talk about that. So let's look at the fear and greed index. It's obviously still in fear. We went up 3 points since yesterday. And again, guys, I just look at this for fun because you really can't judge anything off of it. But I mean, I guess it could help. When we are really low, we usually get a nice bounce. But let's look at Bitcoin on the monthly. So looking at the monthly chart, this does look like a bullish candle so far on the monthly. We are still squeezed in between the 21 EMA and the 13 EMA. A close above this 13 EMA around the 7,700 or so for the month would be extremely bullish in my opinion. Let's look at the weekly. The weekly, we are still in this formation. Volume is still declining. Let me get the RSI off there for a minute. All right, so just like last week, we have the 55 EMA, which is the yellow. We had the 8 EMA cross about 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, below the 55, which was bearish. That's when we got this big candle down here, this big wick down here. Now we're looking at the 13 is possibly going to cross. If that does, that will be bearish. But I think there's a good chance we get a nice spike up to retest the top of this formation, this falling wedge, which would be resistance up here around the 8,800 range, somewhere in that area. But like I said, we're going to take a look at all the targets. But as you can see right here, the volume is still declining while in this formation. So when we do break out, whether it be down or up, we're going to get a huge volume spike. So there is a big move coming, guys, very soon, I believe. Let's look at the RSI. So if we look at the RSI, this is what we've been talking about. Back here, before there was data on COINBASE, we had a capitulation which dropped below this red line, which I believe this is a good support line. And once we popped back above it and came back down and retested it in August of 2015, we never looked back. And as you can see, we had the capitulation below it in 2018, popped back above it earlier this year in February, came back down, retested it last month. So it is looking like we are getting support there. Looks pretty bullish, guys. I think it's a good chance we continue up from here. The other thing I want to point out on the weekly is if you look at this yellow line, we had a wedge in here, which we popped out of, came back down, tested it for support, got support, which lined up right with our red support line here. I also have this resistance line coming off these two peaks here, which we have popped through. One thing I want to do real quick, and keep this in mind, especially if you are new to the channel, we'll keep this line on here after I do this. I'm going to clone that bottom line and put it up top. And I do think that if we can break this, and I'm going to make this line a different color. I will make that green. If we do break this line, I believe, you know, it's going to be a massive move up. Let's look at the daily. All right, so on the daily, same thing, volume's declining. And I do have these lower targets, guys, that we need to watch. If we drop below this 7,050 range, I'm looking for, actually, I'm going to get this one off there because I think it'll be lower than that. I'd be looking for the $5,400 range, which if it lined up with this support line on the bottom would be somewhere towards the end of January. We have to keep that in mind if we drop below the 7,050. But if we don't drop below the 7,050, I'm still bullish here. I do have a lower target at the 4,750 range, which is off of this long-term trend line, starting with this wick and these two touches here. I don't think that's going to happen, but we have to keep that in mind. Unless we break the 7,050, I'm not worried about these. And I had said in the video, talked about the double bottom and stop hunt, and that's what I believe this was right here. If you know anything about stop hunts, if people went long down in here, they would have put their stops just below this wick. And a stop hunt, this one came down really quick and came back up, and we could look at it in the 4 hour. It was a really quick wick, but it went down just below here, so it probably grabbed all the stops and possibly liquidations down here, and we got this jump up. That's why I believe this was a double bottom, and we're most likely going to continue up from here, but keep in mind, we have to stay above the 7,050 to do that. Let me zoom in a little bit. And as you can see, the 8, the 13, and 21, I'm sorry, the 8, the 13, and the 21 EMA are being support right now, and the 55 is up here. We're getting squeezed in between these, so we could get some sideways action for a while, or my next thought is that we shoot up, you know, to around the $8,800 range. That's what I had in my thumbnail. Let's look at the RSI, see what that tells us. As you can see, we were in this falling channel here. We had a small bull trap here. And I have a rising channel in white coming across here. It looks like we could be coming up to test the top of this falling channel again. And if we break that, would most likely be testing the top of this channel. And that would get us up to those higher highs. I'll look for some divergence real quick. And really not seeing any divergence in the daily chart. Other than the longer term divergence where we had lower or higher lows in the RSI and lower lows here, which was bullish divergence. And here, I guess you could say was bearish divergence, which I think this would have been this playing out here. Now let's look at the 4 hour, and we'll talk a little bit about what I believe could be an inverse head and shoulders, and we'll look at the target of that, and then we'll take a look at these other targets too. Yesterday we did a live stream right before this broke, and I had said if we put a long in here and a stop loss just below it, you could get some nice gains off that. And if you belong to the Discord, you'll see that once it popped up here, I moved my stops, trailed my stops up behind it, and made a nice profit. That's one thing I forgot to mention in the video, to move your stops up. But if you don't know how to trade, you probably shouldn't be trading anyway. I'm just sharing my trades. I do share them in the Discord. Don't forget to check that out down below. And I'll leave a Bybit tutorial in case you're interested in trading up top. So looking at this as a possible inverse head and shoulders, I'll draw it out for you real quick. The neckline would be around the 7640 range, which also aligns with this white trend line I have off of these two wicks here. And if we look back at the daily, that also lines up with the 55 EMA. It's almost perfect at the 7630 range. So there's a lot that coincides with these two trend lines, and where we most likely, I said yesterday, I believe we'd head up to the 7641. I still believe we're going to head there. We could come back down and retest this 0.618. Let me zoom out and show you right here. And that is the Fibonacci retracement of this whole move from swing low to swing high. This 0.618 is right around on Coinbase, depending on which exchange you're on, but on Coinbase, it's around 72.40. I do expect us to get a nice bounce there. If we don't bounce there, which I do believe we're going to at least bounce there, it could be the reversal. But if we put in a Fibonacci retracement from the swing low to the swing high, that also lines up with the 0.618 in this smaller move here. So it all coincides pretty well. The 0.786 of this smaller move would be down at the 7160 range. So if we don't get the bounce at 7240, I'd be looking for one at 7160. But if you look, this also lines up with this old resistance here and old support. So looks like we're most likely going to get this bounce at 7240. That may be the reversal, so keep an eye on that. And let's look at the inverse head and shoulders here. I will draw it out. Excuse me. And this being the left shoulder, whoops, let me get that off there. I want to use a yellow. I'll make it yellow afterwards, but this would be the left shoulder. This would be the head. And this being the right shoulder. Still looks like we're in this formation to me, guys. And let me brighten that so you can see it. That being the head and shoulders. Neckline being up here at the 7640 range, which, like I said, coincides with the 55 EMA on the daily and these two trend lines I have here. Now, the measured move of that would be taking right at the neckline. You would draw a line from the neck down to the tip of the head, go over to the 7640 range, and if that was to break, the measured move off that, guys, would be around the 8865, 8800 to 8865 range, which also would be the top of this resistance line up here. So it's going to be interesting if we do come up to tag this within the next day or two. Possibly even today. We'll see what happens. But within the next couple days, if we come up to tag this, it'll be interesting to see if we can break through and then get support on the top of it. Then it'll be extremely bullish, and I think we are going to continue the bull run in a big way. If we get rejected and come back down, we could be looking at these lower lows. That is where I'm at with that. So let's go back into this. And if you watched yesterday, you know I was measuring this here as a possible bull flag or just a sideways channel, and the measured move of breaking that line I had at 78.16, but we did get rejected right at the 75, about 75.40 range, and came back down. I don't believe that's the end. Like I said, I believe we're going to get a bounce here at the 72.40 range. If that doesn't hold, what was it, 71.50, 71.40, somewhere in there is the 0.786, but I believe we're going to get a bounce off this 0.618. And in my opinion, it'll be the reversal. I could be wrong. Do not trade off my opinion. Make your own. But if we do come back down and we break that 70.50, the next target would be 6,600. And the target after that would be the 61.50. And then we'd be looking at most likely coming all the way down to that 54.01, but that would be later in January. I believe there's a good chance we get up to that 8,800 first, and then we'll have to see what the market's doing at that point. I do daily updates, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, tick the notification bell, give it a giant thumbs up, and leave your comments down below. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. Now we are going to look at the RSI real quick. All right, so it does look like we may come down to test this area here from the breakout of this falling channel. But keep in mind, if you look at the red, we are in a rising channel also. So is it possible we come all the way back down and test this? It is possible. But as of right now, I think we're most likely, if we come back down and test the bottom of that channel again, that could be that 7,050 range. But again, I believe that we're most likely going to get a bounce at this 0.618 if we don't continue up from here. Let's look at the Litecoin chart. We'll start out with the daily. Let's go over the daily on Litecoin. And as you can see, I have some targets in here. Yesterday, if you watched the video, I had the target at 4409. We hit it almost on the dot there. Where did we hit? Right about 4405. So that was a pretty good area. Great target. We almost hit it exactly. Now I'm going to move this down a little bit to around this 55 EMA. If we can break up above this 44, we're most likely heading to the $47 range, which would be the 55 EMA on the daily. Keep in mind, if you look at these yellow trend lines I have here, the falling wedge, we broke out of here, and it is looking good. Although we have, if you look at the white trend lines, there's another wedge in there, and that's going to top out around $53 to $54 if we head up that direction. Let's look at the RSI. The RSI, we have more room to go up. You know what? Let me go back to Bitcoin real quick and see if we see any divergence. I did forget to check for that in the smaller time frame. We still have, remember we had this hidden bullish divergence with lower lows in the RSI, higher lows in the price action, and we did get that boost up like we were talking about. But as of right now, we are just kind of in limbo in this area again. It's really a no trade zone unless we break one of these two, either the 7440 again or the 7050. So let's go back to Litecoin. I do believe we could come up, retest this before continuing down. If we do break it, that'll be up to our higher highs. Let's go into the 4 hour. Looking at the 4 hour Litecoin, it actually looks kind of bullish here, guys. But again, we hit our target of 44. I had it at 4409 here. So yeah, we did hit our target yesterday for the most part, which would have been the top of this trend line. Now the question is, do we break it here? And there's a good possibility. Let me look at, I know I was looking at something with the, let me go into the 1 hour on Bitcoin real quick. There it is. We've broken through a little bit, but as you can see, I was looking at this for some divergence, but I guess we really don't have any. I had a trend line here. We broke down. We're popped back above it. So we got to look at the 1 hour. We're still below all these EMAs, and they look like they're turning bearish on each other. So, all right. Sorry, I flipped back over there again. I'm just kind of trying to think while I'm making the video. As you guys know, I work full time, so I don't have a whole lot of time to go over this stuff before making the video. So it's kind of just live thinking. There's a possibility we could come back down. If we break through this trend line on the 4 hour, we could most likely come back down and retest this between the $39 and $40 range, somewhere in here, to get our bounce, which would probably line up pretty well with the 0.618 on Bitcoin. Let's see first. If we do break this 44, we're most likely headed up to this 47, possibly all the way back up to this resistance line around 49. But yeah, I guess my outcome for today, I'm still pretty bullish here. Like I said, I showed you the key areas I'm watching. So if you enjoyed the video, definitely click the CryptoSavy logo above my head. That'll get you subscribed to the channel. I do daily updates every single day. There's also some affiliate links down below. If you guys can check them out, if you can use them, that's great. I get a little bit of commission. It helps support the channel. Also, don't forget to leave your comment down below for the free t-shirt. My wife's webpage is anchorimage.com. There's also a link to that down below. And if you Check it out. She can put any crypto, any saying, anything you want on any of this stuff. She has a lot of stuff's not listed yet too. There's some hoodies, keychains. There's these glass portraits you can make. She can put Bitcoin or anything you want on that. Same thing with the aluminum signs, doggy bandanas. Check it out. Another way to help support the channel. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Don't forget to smash likes, leave your comments, and I will see you later. Take it easy.